Hello and welcome to Under the Hood. I'm Eli Karp, your host and editor-in-chief. Alongside me today, we have a great panel of judges from Jersey City, Rock the Barn, Ipswich, Eric, Comac, Long Island, Happy, and Ridgefield, Connecticut, Julia, along with myself here in the heart of Westchester County. So before we get into our very interesting points of discussion today, Happy, I have a question to ask you, and that is, how many points will the Giants lose by tonight?
It will be a lot, but hopefully less than the Chiefs.
Hopefully less than the Chiefs. Nothing spells mediocrity or loss of confidence like that answer. So, with that being said, let's go right into things. And we're not going to be talking as much about fantasy as we usually do because I think you all know that we're pretty bad, except for the fact that I'm 3-1. Unfortunately, Travis Kelce on Happy's team decided, no, Eli, I'm going to kill you in garbage time. So, I'm not winning this week. There's no 4-0 for me, but I'm still at the top of my division. A lot of buys for my team next week. I'm going to have to muster up a waiver wire miracle. So, diving into the AFC South, we're going to touch on the Indianapolis Colts and Chuck Pagano. After yesterday's disappointing loss to the Jaguars in London, they are now 1-3. They have lost to Detroit, Denver, and as we just mentioned, Jacksonville. And they really could be 0-4 if they didn't beat San Diego on a 63-yard pass to T.Y. Hilton in the final minute and a half. So this team, really, with high expectations coming in, Andrew Luck, the offense, the boys are back together. They have not looked impressive at all. And Chuck Pagano, the man roaming the sidelines, who was thought to be out at the end of last season, but they decided to keep him. His hot seat has to be pretty warm right now. So, let's go to Eric first. Will Chuck Pagano end the season as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts?
I'm going to say yes because of the whole sickness card. Trust me, I'm a Red Sox fan. The whole John Farrell thing is the same way. Both very bad at late-game situations. Farrell can't manage a bullpen. Pagano can't coach a defense. They signed excuse me, 4-year extension to him, I believe at the end of last year. And I don't think they'll do that, but I don't think they're going to win many games. They're looking at their upcoming schedule. Bears, that's probably a win with or without Jay Cutler because he stinks. Texans, that's a loss. Titans, Chiefs, Packers lost. Titans, probably a win. Steelers, killed. Jets lost. Texans lost. Vikings don't even show up. Raiders lost, and Jaguars, they're probably going to lose that one too.
Wow.
I don't think they'll have many wins, but I do think he'll still be at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you gave the New York Jets a win over the Indianapolis Colts on that one. They just look pretty dismal.
It pains me.
Wow.
So part of the reason they've been so bad is because their offensive line is worse than even that of the New York Giants. Andrew Luck, he's a franchise player, franchise cornerstone, but he's been getting hit so much, and they have so little on the run game with this line and only Frank Gore. They started 3 rookies in consecutive positions on the O-line yesterday. You can't win with 3 rookies there, even with Andrew Luck. I mean, only maybe Tom Brady could find a way to get the ball out of his hands quickly enough to actually make something happen. But you have to wonder, and I'm going to ask you this question, Happy, is based on the talent and the lack of healthiness for this team, do you put a lot of the blame on general manager Ryan Grigson, or do you put it on Pagano?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I just think you got to put on the general manager. He's the one that builds the team. Pagano is just the one who built, and you can't, like you mentioned, with the offensive line, 3 rookies, there's not much you can do with that besides hope and pray that your quarterback doesn't get sacked. But just being said with that, just this whole thing, they need to fire the GM, get a new one who can build the team up, draft some, not drafts, but get some veteran guys into the team, into the system, so they could now develop those young guys, and so when they have to forced to put them in, they're not just these guys who, like this. I had one of my teachers who said he could block for them, and he's a football coach, but he's like this small guy, and he says he could do a better blocking job. I think that's pretty sad when you're the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, yeah, it's been a rough riding so far. Julia, are the Colts going to keep Chuck Pagano as their head coach?
Actually, I just wanted to make a quick analogy there. Happy mentioned GM versus the manager about or the coach who should get blamed for the talent. I just want to make a sort of like an analogy-ish towards the Mets. When the past 2-3 years, if you wanted to blame, there are two people to blame. It was either Terry Collins or Sandy Alderson. Everyone wanted to throw the blame on Terry just because of the lineup he would put out every day. And it was John Mayberry Jr. 2 years ago lining up and lead off. And everyone,
don't bring that up.
I'm sorry.
Can we forget about that?
What do you think about it? Sandy Alderson was the person we should have been blaming. If the general manager isn't going out there to give you the talent that you need, then what's a manager supposed to do except sit there, look at Sandy and say, this is the team, what do you expect me to do with it? So if the Colts want to get better, they have to look to their general manager. I think like Happy said, with the talent that they have, maybe they can clean up their act, not commit as many penalties as they should. I know there were a lot of bonehead penalties, I guess, yesterday during the Jaguars game that cost them a lot of yardage they should have had. So if they really need to look at the talent, I think that's all towards the general manager.
And just more fault falling on the shoulders of Ryan Grigson could be the bust in Philip Dorsett, who was a first-round pick, I believe, and has done jack squat. So we'll see if he can show his worth in the upcoming whatever schedule they have remaining. I mean, they're only a quarter of the way through the season. 1-3 is not a way that you want to start your season, even playing in the AFC South, which is marginally improving a bit by bit. And just to remind you, Pagano was about to be fired at the end of last season. Everyone thought he was out. And then all of a sudden, he, Gregson, and Colts owner Jim Irsay, they kind of came together and they said, you know what, we have something here. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt because you played with Matt Hasselbeck as your starting quarterback for most of last season. So we're going to give you another chance. And this topic is going to end with Rock the Barn. Will Chuck Pagano be fired before the season is over if this trend continues?
If it continues, yes. Right now, I think it's a little too early to tell because 1-3, never a good record to start the year. I mean, the Jets are 1-3, and I'm not happy with it whatsoever. I think if he keeps it up, like you said, definitely. But the team's definitely good enough to turn it around. They've got some key players that can really help them. They just really got to pick it up on the defense and fix that offensive line, and they can turn it around, and he definitely will stay if he can do just that. But if not, I think he's definitely gone.
Question is, how do they fix the offensive line? I'm not sure I have the answers. If anyone else has an answer and wants to be the oracle, please do raise your hand. But I really can't think of anything that's going to give them the ability to change their line. But Eric, you have your hand up.
Our line coach at our Ipswich High School, Kevin Fassett, look him up. I think he's pretty good. Probably better than the Colts.
All right, put him up there with Rob Chudzinski, the offensive coordinator for the Colts. And speaking of coaches who were nearly fired, we're going to go to someone who was just fired after he was nearly fired the year before, and that is ex-LSU football head coach Les Miles. Les Miles, in his 11-plus years there, he went 114-34, the second winningest coach in school history. He was the AP National Coach of the Year in 2011. He won the BCS National Championship in 2007, and he also led LSU to SEC championships in 2007 and 2011. So, obviously, he's been one of the greatest coaches over the last 5 to 10 years in college football. LSU, obviously a powerhouse program. He had a lot to do with that. Perennial contenders. They were always in the conversation. But he just hasn't been able to get it done after 2007. And it all started when they lost to Alabama in the 2011 championship game when they got rolled 21-0. Yes, I kind of used a pun there. They got roll tide. Yeah, whatever. So you can enjoy it if you want. I know it's awful, but we'll move on. So these last 2 years with Leonard Fournette, a Heisman contender, one of the best talents in the country, they were projected to be a top 5 team as well as a playoff contender and possibly a championship contender, but they just haven't been able to get it done. Obviously, a lot of that falling on the shoulders of quarterback Brennan Harris, who just was not able to take the load off of Fournette's shoulders, and ultimately they didn't get it done last year after they fell off against Alabama and couldn't climb back up the cliff. And this year they were already 2-2 before they beat Mizzou, and it was just enough was enough because Miles was thought to be out last season before they heroically brought him back, and literally the players carried him on their shoulders. It just wasn't kosher, and it kind of showed itself now that 4 games through the season they couldn't beat Auburn, and Auburn doesn't have a very good team this year. After they brought in defensive coordinator Dave Aranda from Wisconsin, it's just he couldn't get it done. But that being said, he was one of the most winningest coaches in the college game. He brought LSU to where they were. So I'm going to leave this up to you guys. Was the decision to fire Les Miles the right one? We're going to start with Julia.
No, I don't agree with you firing a coach 2-2 right in the middle of the season. If you want to just throw the white flag up there right now, go ahead, fire him. I don't agree with it at all. You don't know what's going to happen in the coming weeks. They could have went on an insane run and maybe gotten to a really good bowl game or something. I don't know what would have happened if they hadn't fired him. I don't agree with it at all. I think the amount of respect that they showed him by cutting him off and after week 4, I think that's awful. And maybe it shows a lot about the character of LSU. But anyways, I don't agree with it. I think that was totally wrong. After he did so much for the school, cutting him off after week 4 just because you were 2-2, I don't agree with it at all.
Okay, Happy?
Yeah, it was definitely wrong from just a moral perspective, but for LSU, who's a powerhouse football team, there was a change needed. They've not been able to sustain a winning that top tier program since they had that nice undefeated run until they lost in the title game a couple years ago. But the problem with LSU this year is that, and last year too, is that they had Fournette, the Heisman candidate, but they're never able to build the offense around him beyond just Leonard Fournette. That was shown last year when they started playing teams like Alabama, and they just rolled. Use the same pun, but they literally rolled through them because they couldn't do anything else besides hand the ball off to Fournette. And it happened again this year. Just week 1 against Wisconsin, they completely shut them down. Then week 2 they were able to get by week 2, week 3. But then obviously in week 4, Auburn was able to stop them. And even though that was down to that last play, it just shows that there's just a change that needed to happen at LSU. And looks like they're going in the right direction now, and let's see if they'll be able to keep it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason that Les Miles was fired is because they went 2-2, and then the loss to Auburn was that loss that was the tipping point, and that loss was so minuscule because they would have had the game-winning touchdown if a fraction of the second before the ball would have been snapped. So just think about that. I saw that in an interview. I forget on which channel, but they mentioned that a fraction of a second, which is possibly what caused Les Miles' job. Just the margin for error is so small in that kind of a profession. It really is mind-boggling. Rock the Barn, is LSU moving in the right direction by firing Les Miles?
I think they are. I mean, Les Miles is a great coach, and he's brought his teams to some great heights. But LSU is looking for a championship, and they're looking for it quite quickly. They came into this year with top 10, and they're not even ranked anymore, which is bad. And like Happy and everyone else has said so far, they're pretty much relying on Leonard Fournette, and they have the rest of the offense is just not doing as well as they needed to do. They've lost to Wisconsin the first week, was kind of a starter, and I feel as if LSU just really wants to win, and they want to win as quickly as possible. Obviously, Les Miles will find another coaching job as a great coach, but I feel that LSU wants to win as quickly as possible, and LSU was just not, and Les Miles was just not taking them in the right direction.
Okay, Eric, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curve at you now that we've gotten some opinions, and that is where after the season, obviously if Ed Orgeron can rally the troops and get them to beat Alabama, obviously they're not going to win the SEC West at this point, but who knows, but they're likely not going to. if they can beat Alabama and possibly run the rest of the table, does Ed Orgeron have a shot to be hired as LSU's head coach, or who did they look for as a possibility? Like, give me some names.
Oh, he definitely has a good opportunity to stay as the head coach because they have a fairly easy schedule besides Ole Miss and Alabama. Like, they have a Southern Miss, South Alabama. They don't have hard team
Ipswich
after
High
hard
School.
team. But, that too. But, his first game, they broke their school record in yards for the game, 42-7 over Mizzou. They've been looking very good, so I think I think he has a good chance to stay the head coach.
All right, and if they don't go the Ed Orgeron route, who are you looking at to possibly become the next Louisiana State University head coach?
I'm thinking maybe probably won't happen, but maybe a Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia. They've been rumored for a lot of college or pro jobs, and I don't know. I haven't thought much about it, but those are the first names that come to mind.
All right, well, even if you didn't think about it, you brought me a perfect segue. Obviously, I think there are a couple names out there. Jimbo Fisher is going to be floated around. I doubt he'll leave Florida State. Bobby Petrino probably not leaving Louisville. But think about Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State, as well as Jeremy Pruitt, who is the current Alabama defensive coordinator. Obviously, Kirby Smart, the longtime defensive coordinator under Nick Saban, just bolted for Georgia. We'll see if the trend continues. But mentioning Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick, and the New England Patriots, Tom Brady is now officially free. 4-game suspension is over. The Patriots managed to come out 3-1, probably on the higher side of expectations. Maybe not in Boston, but around the world probably. But they did suffer a bit of a surprise shutout loss versus Rex and the Bills, and everyone was kind of like, okay, it's a plug and play. Bill Belichick can pretty much put anyone in there, put you or me. I actually read a satire. Not that it's the most politically correct thing that Bill Belichick could win with Helen Keller at quarterback. But that being said, everyone was kind of like, okay, put Brissett in there, Garoppolo, they can win. Does it really matter about Brady? Is it Brady or is it the system that he's in? So, after yesterday's loss and what you've seen, Eric, I'm going to come right back to you. Is it Brady or is it Belichick?
I think it's a large part Belichick because he's been putting up with backups and third stringers into the games and beating some good teams in Houston and Arizona. But you can't shy away from Brady either because we know he is the nephew of God. But look at the numbers he's put up. I don't think backups we had over the years, like a Damian Heward or a Ryan Mallett. I don't think they could put up numbers or wins like that in a Belichick system.
Okay. Julia, you hate the Patriots, so would you rather if you had to choose, would you rather have Brady on your team or Belichick as your head coach?
Belichick. He was supposed to be worst day ever. I wasn't even alive when this happened. He walked out on us for money. Thanks a lot, Belichick. But of course I would rather have Belichick. He could turn Mark Sanchez into a star for crying out loud.
All right, don't go that far.
Come on. If Belichick could turn Jimmy Garoppolo, I know Brissett didn't do that well in his second game, but Brissett, if Julian Edelman was ready to run out there as quarterback, I would take Belichick any day over Brady. And I know Brady has the talent, yes, but Belichick has been able to draft players late rounds, right? Gronkowski, and Julian Edelman, even they were late rounders, and they've just become stars. They've become stars when the rest of the world has looked over them entirely. So, yeah, I'd rather have Belichick because he's amazing, and he kills us. I don't know how he does it. He knows how to read the other teams. He analyzes the game in a way that just kills everyone else. So I'd rather have him.
All right, please, someone tell me that there's a Brady person in here. Otherwise, I'm going to end this discussion right now because there's no point in repeating anyone. But Happy, you're going to save us.
No, I'm not going to say it's Brady because it's Belichick. But that's not. There's no No, but hear me out. You can't just say, because obviously I think the Patriots' success is just because Tom Brady and Bill Belichick make the perfect relationship, and what has come out of it is 4 Super Bowl wins. That's all I'm going to say, because that's just – you can't – because the Belichick reasons, you've said it all. And yes, Brady's a great quarterback, but the Belichick system, I think, can make any great quarterback into that Super Bowl Hall of Fame caliber quarterback that Brady has become.
Okay, I'm going to shift things up now. Rock the Barn. Would Ryan Fitzpatrick be successful in a Bill Belichick system?
Oh dear.
Tough one.
Very tough question. I'd have to say last year, the way he played last year until the last game against the Bills, yes. But as the season has progressed so far, I'd have to say no, because even in a Bill Belichick system, Ryan Fitzpatrick right now is literally trying to dodge his own receivers and just throwing it right to the defense. I just don't think you can have a quarterback, even with Bill Belichick's skill. I just don't think he can, as he's playing right now, be able to mesh with Bill Belichick in his system.
All right, I have to think, obviously Belichick has a lot to do with it, but based on what we've seen, Garoppolo is obviously, they thought he was suitable. He's been studying under Brady for 3 years or so now, so he was ready to come in, but after yesterday's loss, it can't be all Belichick. There has to be some element of a really good quarterback in there, because you look at what he's done the whole time, and it's not like he's had amazing Pro Bowl receivers and Hall of Famers at his doorstep like, Peyton Manning had with Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. But, he's obviously he has Gronk and Edelman now, but Edelman's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Has he been a Pro Bowler yet? I'm not quite sure. He's a very good wide receiver, don't get me wrong. But when you look at what the hand he's dealt sometimes, it's really admirable what he's done with not the brightest supporting cast as Aaron Rodgers has had, or Roethlisberger, or Eli Manning. Not really. I take that back. Don't even bother with that. But point being, he has not had the brightest of stars, and he's managed to win 4 Super Bowls and put him in GOAT consideration.
But that seemed to be kind of recent, because Rob Gronkowski right now is probably their star player, but wide receiver, tight end position. But he's had people like Randy Moss and Wes Welker on his team too that he's gotten, who are definitely. Randy Moss is probably going to be a Hall of Famer. So Bill Belichick has made some great plays too.
Okay, Randy Moss was only there for a season or two, right? I don't think he was there for a while.
Enough to kill the Jets.
Well,
True.
Doesn't take much to kill them.
Hey.
Just as Victor Cruz. But
yeah.
now we're going to switch gears to baseball as the wild card games and the playoffs begin tomorrow, and we are scheduled to have a special surprise guest coming on right now. Let me just inform him. I hope this remained a surprise, but this should be a nice little talk. So, as he arrives, let's hope this works. And let's begin with talking about the wild card. And we have the AL matchup tomorrow with the Baltimore Orioles and the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, the game is being held in Toronto. Both teams kind of limped in. They really didn't have a very convincing entrance to the playoffs. But they made it. Either way, they beat up the Mariners and the Detroit Tigers. So, they're there. And we've seen the last few years, and since the wildcard game has been implemented, that a lot of the teams playing in the wildcard game have made it to the World Series. Does anyone here think that any team playing on wildcard weekend or the wildcard games are going to make the World Series? Just a show of hands, and I want to hear why, if you do. Okay, Happy, you were dabbling for a second.
I was going to say the Mets because he's a Mets fan.
Of course I want. I would love to say the Mets. Like, I don't think they're gonna make it. Their team is half dead, for one thing, and they're playing the Giants, which scare scares me. Especially, I don't want to say anything, but it's an even year. We all know what happens on even years past 3 times with the Giants. But yeah, I would love for them. Back-to-back World Series would be great, but I would love for it, but it's not going to happen. But I would, yeah.
Madison Bumgarner, not an easy pitcher to
He
face
killed,
anytime, especially in the playoffs on the road. You saw what happened last time. They absolutely annihilated Pittsburgh. No chance. And now our special guest has arrived. Live from LA, our good friend Eli Lesser from SBC Boston. If the camera decides to work, and it is not right now, but I think the audio is working. Eli, good to have you. I am
Good
not
to see you.
not the only Eli who exists in the sports world. So, with that being said, Eli, we were just talking about the AL wild card or just the wild cards in general, and Happy was hoping that the Mets would make it all the way. Obviously, you're a Dodgers fan. Do you think that they have enough to make the World Series?
Well, yes, I am a Dodger fan, but I'm also a Dodger fan that trashes his own team. I am that type of sport fan. I don't. Unfortunately, beat the Nationals in the first round. I don't see them getting past the CS against the team of the Cubs. I'm not even going to say the third team.
Okay. A few technical difficulties with the sound on that end, but a fan who trashes his own team,
Here.
we know plenty about that on our shows with our Jets and Giant fans, so no strangers to that here.
Don't forget the Mets.
Let me
fan.
get a few picks from you guys. Just rapid fire. Baltimore versus Toronto. Who comes away the winner? We're going to go down the line, rock the barn.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Eric?
Toronto.
Home team. All right. Happy?
Toronto, because I want to see Toronto versus Texas again.
All right. Julia?
Blue Jays.
Eli, are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Yeah, your connection's a little spotty.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a nice, good place to sit.
All right. Do you think Baltimore or Toronto is going to win tomorrow?
Toronto.
Toronto. I have to agree. I think Baltimore's coming in a little too limping, and Toronto at home, I think they're going to get the dub. And now probably the more interesting matchup in this panel, the San Francisco Giants versus the New York Mets on Wednesday night at Citi Field. I was listening to the fan this morning, and all they can say is, if the Mets don't win this game, it's not really like they made the playoffs. And I have to think that's kind of true. A lot of people have that thought of their team playing in the wild card game. And San Francisco Giants, even though they've had a really pretty bad second half of the season since the All-Star break, they're dangerous, and they're kind of like that wounded dog. They're really dangerous even though they're not dead. So I'm going to start with the Met fans here, the ones who are really concerned. Julia, are the Mets going to win?
Well, I mean, the fan in me wants to say yes, but if you look at it, the Giants have a distinct advantage. First of all, they got Madison Bumgarner, who must be the most single-handed, best one-game pitcher in the playoffs, and even I can't deny that. He's incredible.
Yes.
We also what he did against the Royals 2 years ago, and what he's done countless other times. But now, and then even with the batting, like the Thor, God, he struggles against right-handed batters, and there's a lot of lefties and not a lot of righties, so it's like kind of not a very good matchup for us. Now, what I will say the Mets hold the slightest little bit of advantage against is with the bullpen. The Giants' bullpen has been spotty this entire month of August into September. They've given up leads countless times. If anything, our bullpen is a lot stronger than theirs, so if the only way that the Mets have a chance to win this game is if our righties come prepared to play against a Madison Bumgarner, which is going to be tough. Now, it is a home game. One thing I do want to say, though, with this team is that props to them. Last year, we had 90 wins with a division. This year, we had 87 wins with a wild card. Now, I'm not saying that we were definitely favorites to win the division, as most of you guys know. But the injuries, the pitchers, our entire pitching staff is almost gone. Our top pitcher was a 43-year-old. The Mets.
Hey, God.
I can't even
The legend.
believe the amount of injuries Terry Collins had to go through this year, putting out a lineup every day. It boggles my mind. But even the wild card playing at Citi Field, it should be an interesting game. And don't count the Mets out, but definitely the Giants have the slightest advantage.
All right, and with a man named Madison, you're bound to have a chip on your shoulder. So I guess, Happy, we're going to come to you.
Okay.
Do you agree with Julia, or are you a little more optimistic?
All right, this took a while. This took a long while, but I think I convinced myself that the Mets
Did you
can
think
win.
about this at services?
I mean, I want them to win too, but it's
It just took a while, but I've convinced myself the Mets have a good chance of winning this game.
I want to hear this.
The Mets haven't been terrible against Bumgarner this year.
That's true.
They haven't, which is surprising. But the playoff Bumgarner is a whole new world from regular season Bumgarner. But I do think if the Mets can just they took him out of the game early last time, and now it's in San Francisco. If they can take him out early, make him focus on the bullpen, then the Mets have a chance. And their Mets are running on a lot of momentum. They played well down the stretch. Guys are getting hot. Jay Bruce has finally gotten hot. The first 2 months, the first month and a half of Jay Bruce's Met career is something that I want to forget. Put it next to all the forgotten Mets things. Jason Bay, I can name a bunch, but we could be here all day with that. But I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how. But I think Syndergaard, yes, it's going to be tough for him. But I think Syndergaard, he pitched great in the postseason last year. He had the only win for the Mets in the World Series. I think with all that in mind, the Mets have a very decent chance of coming away with a win and versing the Cubs in the divisional series.
All right, from Jay Caboose back to Jay Bruce. Hopefully the Mets can find a way to get it done. I mean, we're just kind of going on the Mets roast here. I know you were ranting about Jason Bay the other day. Eli, you've seen a lot of the Giants because, the Dodgers are in the same division. Is there anything else that we should know from your insight that the Giants are either going to have the advantage or the disadvantage in on Wednesday?
I just want to say enough with the even year crap.
Thank you.
I want to forget it too.
The Giants.
Okay.
I'm just saying. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think it will happen, but I'm hoping that the Mets pull out the victory. I'm praying to Hashem in services.
Right there with you.
That the Giants lose.
All right, then you can shove it in Lucas's face. I think we somehow seem to be religiously affiliated today. Not usually, but enjoy it while you can. I didn't bring up the Lashana Tova graphics because I'm not that good. But Rock the Barn, you're shaking your head. You're like, what the hell is going on? Who's gonna win on Wednesday?
I've got the Giants. I think that Madison Bumgarner's Lego statue could beat the Mets on Wednesday. So that's my pick.
Wow, that is quite a bold
I never pretty much ever root for the Mets in the playoffs. It's not in me whatsoever, and I really just want them to not get anywhere so I can sleep happy because the Yankees are out.
Well, we don't like the Yankees either.
I'm happy that the Yankees are out. All right, so I'm just going to go back to Happy here. You're thinking that both Giants are going to lose this week. I mean, right?
I just don't want them to lose. Can we not talk about the New York Giants now?
All right, fine. I won't bother us anymore.
I haven't prepared myself enough.
I've been kind of preparing myself throughout the day. All right, Eric, round us out. Who's going to win tomorrow? Not tomorrow, on Wednesday.
Rock the Barn, I was right on the Mets last week, and I think I'm going to be right on them this week. I got Mets.
All right, we're going with the Mets, and now that we've made our wild card picks, let's get some World Series predictions. Not winners, but matchups, because I think we should be back before the World Series. So let's get some matchup predictions, and let's start with Rock the Barn.
I'm not really sure about this one yet. There's so many teams that have just really looked good or looked bad going into the playoffs so far. I'm not really sure. The Cubs really look like a great team. The way they've played all season, I think 100 wins, or a little less than. Was it 100?
102, no?
102 wins.
102.
So I've got the Cubs, and I'm not sure yet about the East. I think the Rangers could pull it off. The Red Sox, I hate to say it, but the Red Sox look good as well. So I'm not either the Red Sox, I think, or the Rangers.
I was very tempted to predict put down on my sheet of Chicago versus Boston, and that could certainly well happen. there's something within me, even though I'd like to see the Cubs win, that it's just they're choke city. I mean, that's what they are. They can't win. So with that being said, I'm going to have to go, and Eli, you're going to love this, or maybe you won't. I'm going to go the Dodgers versus the Rangers. I think they're both riding a hot streak. And so with my not very good knowledge of baseball, that is what I'm putting on the table. So now to people who do know a little bit more about baseball, let's go to Happy.
Chicago versus Cleveland.
Cleveland?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Cleveland. I know what I don't know much about the
The
American.
Cavaliers winning and
I-
the Indians winning the same year.
I think the Chicago.
Are the Cleveland Browns gonna win? No, they're not.
Hugh
They
Jackson
got
for
Brady
president?
and Zach week 5.
No, I don't know. Something about Cleveland this year. It's something's going on there where they're just
But
winning.
Cleveland.
I don't. The Browns don't count. They don't exist. They like
No.
they're like the child. They're like it's like Cleveland. Like the people. They're like it's like the child they want to forget.
I think for Cleveland to win, they need to trade Terrell Pryor from the Browns to the Indians, and then we can talk.
Okay.
But I don't think Cleveland.
Honestly,
I-
the Browns are
you
the
know what?
middle child of the family.
The forgotten one that ends up being a drug addict. We'll go with that. All right. I mean,
That's so too real with the
It
players.
is.
they
You know,
have.
it's very true. I didn't even realize that when I said it,
That's
but Josh
0-2
Gordon. I mean, it works. So, Julia.
Okay. Well, people keep saying the Cubs, and I don't personally believe in it. If you want to talk about wins and the regular season meaning anything, ask the Seattle Mariners from 2001 because they didn't go anywhere. Now, I'm not saying that the Cubs are the Seattle Mariners from 2001, but I'm just saying that you can't really count on the regular season to mean anything in the playoffs. I think that the Cubs have a very good team. Yes, obviously, they were the best team in baseball this year. But I think whoever wins the NL wild card, whether it be the Giants or the Mets, are going to put up I think either team could beat them. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I just don't trust the Cubs. I know they're good, but
That's right.
I mean, last year,
Right.
they couldn't even win a game. So
I have to agree with you a little bit, Julia. A little bit there. I mean, there's too much going with them. It's kind
Exactly.
of like trusting the Cowboys, and everybody knows you can't do that. So,
Yeah.
Julia, I prefer though if you didn't bring up the 2001 World Series.
Oh,
No.
Poor.
Rock the Barn. They weren't even bringing up that. You know, you have to bring
You know what?
It was too close though. It was
Don't cry
very
with the
close.
20
Very close and dirty.
Don't
almost
cry with all the World Series trophies you have.
almost
yeah,
the
go
core.
cry. You
Go
should have seen
cry.
me last year, okay?
Yeah. I didn't even speak for like a week.
All right, Eric.
I got the Cubs and the Rangers.
Oh my god.
The Cubs, damn good.
Thank God you're not going
And
with the Red
Rangers
Sox.
are
I
no
kick you
slouches
off.
either.
But I
Sorry, what?
I said, thank God you're not going with the Red Sox. I'd have to kick you off.
But no.
can't.
I actually
If Belichick was coaching the Red Sox.
almost definitely. If Tom Brady was pitching game 1, most definitely.
Put Brissett on the mound.
Russell Wilson's
You know
going to
what?
pitch for the
Julian
Rangers this
Edelman
year.
Oh,
could
because
play quarterback.
No, but Rangers had a really good trade deadline, getting Jonathan Lucroy, and then
And-
Carlos Gomez, who've been decent for them
Beltran.
this year.
And Beltran.
Carlos.
And
Andrew Miller, right?
My bad.
And Miller, yeah.
Yeah,
Miller went to
Beltran
Cleveland, right? Miller went to Cleveland.
but
Oh,
yeah,
Miller
I
went to
think-
Cleveland, but Beltran went to the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Russell Wilson's going to pitch game 1 of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Most
All right. And so that leaves us with you, Eli.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anyways, I think the best way to ruin the even year thing is for them to lose in the World Series, like the Warriors did in the NBA Finals in Game 7.
Ooh.
Have them win the first 3 games, go up 3-1, and then lose it. That's what I'm predicting.
Lose it to Cleveland.
Yeah, can they lose to
Honestly-
Cleveland?
Lose it to Cleveland.
No. I don't think they're going to lose to Cleveland.
Jeez.
Eli, you're probably going to kick me off after this, but I feel like it's destined to have Big Poppy win in his final year. He has been the most clutch player in the postseason, ever. And I just think he will. Rick Porcello just won Pitcher of the Month. I just feel like the odds are with the Red Sox. I'm sorry, Eli.
All right. Well, it is what it is, but you just keep wanting drawing. Everyone just wants to draw comparisons to the third Eli on the show, Eli Manning, best in the postseason. That's the only way I can speak for him in positive terms. But you know what, Eli? We're not going to kick you off. We do have more reason for you on tonight's show. And unless anyone else wants to get something in, oh, yes, actually, I did. Speaking of Golden State and blowing the even year and the 3-1 lead, there's a very funny sign on College Game Day. As they were cutting away, they were showing a picture of the crowd, and on the one of the big six was Golden State still blew a 3-1 lead. And I thought that was really funny. You just can't escape it. It doesn't matter who. That being said, our last segment of tonight, part of the reason we brought Eli on was to talk about the great Vin Scully. Unfortunately, he is gone, but I don't think any of us can really provide the insight that would be necessary to speak about him. And you being a Dodger fan, having watched him all your life, and he's the only Dodger voice you've known. Speak to him a little bit.
Oh my God, Vin, where would I be today without you? I'll be honest, Vin Scully's the reason why I want to be a broadcaster. Ever since I was a little boy, my family and I would sit around the TV and listen to Vin Scully. We wouldn't, when the Dodgers were awful, there were a couple years in the 2000s where they were just god-awful. But instead of watching how awful they were, we'd listen to the beautiful voice of Vin Scully and just enjoy the stories he has to tell. I learned so much information about him. You learn so much about all these legends, and you create his stories create new legends, which is fantastic. He's got the greatest voice, and I've kind of picked up his dialect when I try to do play-by-play, as I'm always like, it's going way back to deep left field, and it is gone. I do that stuff now because of Vin Scully. I probably should figure out how to do something else, but just Vin Scully is I know it's kind of ironic because this is a Jewish holiday and we only support one God, but he is a God in his own world. I love you, Vin, and a great evening to you wherever you may be.
Very nice. And finally, before we go, got me thinking, gonna go rapid fire. Who would you rather have tell a bedtime story to you, Vin Scully or Morgan Freeman? Julia?
Oh, that's hard.
Come on.
That's not fair. No.
I have my answer.
Rapid fire. Let's go.
All right, fine. Vince Scully.
Evan? Oh my God, Happy. How could I call you Evan?
I don't know how. Maybe because it's my name, but yeah, Vince Scully.
Eric? Eric is...
Are they making up the story, or are they just telling it?
Oh, you're that kid, aren't you?
Just answer the question.
I'll take Morgan.
All right. Hey, Eli?
You know what? Because I get bored the hell out of any story that's not sports related, Vin Scully.
All right, rock the barn.
Morgan Freeman has literally it should be proven has the best bedtime story voice. I mean, people in movies have said they would like to sleep on a bed of his voice. I mean, how can you not say yes to that, Morgan Freeman?
Oh, what movie was that?
All right. Well, all I know is I'd probably go with Vin Scully as long as it's not John Sterling. So thank you for watching tonight. We'll see you next time.
Boop.